Groote Schuur Hospital, standing on the slopes of Devil's Peak in Capetown, is one of the most famous hospitals in the world. Known for miracles in medicine, it has also witnessed scandals, loss, and death. And where there is great suffering, there's often whispers of something else beyond this world. Tonight, we step into the history and the hauntings of Groote Schuur Hospital and uncover the spirits said to linger in its walls. I am 14th Avenue Haunting, and today we will be looking into the history and the hauntings of Groote Schuur Hospital in Capetown. Before we get into it, I just want to give a shout out to the Upside Down Paranormal, a paranormal investigations team in South Africa that I am also a part of. We investigate South Africa's most haunted locations, and if you would like to see episodes on the investigations that we've done, please go ahead and subscribe to that channel. I will also list them in the descriptions below. Then a quick disclaimer before we jump into that. 14th Avenue does not claim any of our videos featured on this account as fact. These are based off of rumors, first-hand accounts, and folklore, and is intended for entertainment purposes only. The land that Groote Schuur was built on once belonged to Cecil John Rhodes. When he died in 1902, he left his Groote Schuur estate to the nation with the promise that it be used for education and the public good. By the 1930s, Cape Town needed a modern teaching hospital for the University of Cape Town's growing medical school. The government approved the project, and in 1938, Groote Schuur Hospital opened its doors. A vast hospital built in Dutch Renaissance style, meant to serve the people and also train future generations of doctors, and rose as South Africa's most advanced teaching hospital, becoming a global center for medicine. But this reputation was sealed forever on a December night in 1967. To understand the story, we first have to understand the man behind it, Dr. Christiaan Barnard. He was born in 1922 in the small Karoo town called Beaufort West. The son of a Dutch Reformed minister, he grew up in poverty, but also in discipline and faith. Tragedy unfortunately struck early when one of his brothers died of a heart condition, an event that fueled his obsession with medicine. Barnard studied at the University of Cape Town, graduating in 1945. After years of practice, he set his sights higher, traveling to the United States in the 1950s to train under some of the world's leading surgeons at the University of Minnesota. They absorbed the newest techniques in open heart surgery, which he brought back with him to South Africa. By the mid-1960s, Barnard had become head of cardiac surgery at Groote Schuur. Brilliant, ambitious, and not afraid of controversy. Charismatic to some, arrogant to others. He was a man determined to push the boundaries between life and death. And on the night of the 3rd of December 1967, he did just that. Barnard and his team performed the first human-to-human heart transplant. His patient Louis Washkansky received the heart of Denise Darwal, a young woman who was killed in a car accident, when her heart began beating in another man's chest. The impossible became reality. But the triumph carried shadows. Washkansky only survived for 18 days before dying of pneumonia. Ethical questions haunted the procedure. When exactly was Denise declared dead? Was the line between life and death blurred for the sake of history? And then came the biggest controversy. Whispers that Barnard had not been alone in his breakthrough. Many believe that Dr. Hamilton Naki, a black surgical assistant officially classified as only a gardener due to apartheid laws, played a vital role in the transplant. That Naki had secretly mastered surgical techniques, becoming indispensable in animal heart transplants and possibly in that historic human procedure. Yet, because of apartheid, Naki was denied recognition. Barnard became a global celebrity, gracing magazine covers and dining with world leaders, while Naki's name was nearly erased. Regardless, Groote Schuur had made history that night. But with it came questions of glory, injustice, and the cost of ambition. But that wouldn't be the last time that this hospital made worldwide news. On 30 April 1997, Groote Schuur again made headlines, not for medicine, but for tragedy. A newborn baby, Zephanie Nurse, was stolen from her mother's hospital bed in the maternity ward at Groote Schuur Hospital. Disguised as a nurse, a woman walked into the hospital, took a baby, and vanished. For 17 years, Zephanie grew up with her kidnapper, never knowing the truth. By chance, she later attended the same high school as her biological sister. Their resemblance sparked suspicion. DNA tests confirmed her identity, shocking the nation. A miracle hospital once again shadowed by tragedy. Zephanie was reunited with her original family. And if you would like to go and see the full story about Zephanie Nurse, I know Wide Awake has a podcast out about it that you can go and watch now. The hospital is still viewed as a hospital with very good reviews and very good feedback. It's still considered a very good hospital. And I have yet, and in former videos that I've made, found any negative comments really about Groote Schuur Hospital. But there is one thing that is extremely overpowering, and that would be the number of paranormal reports. I believe all hospitals are haunted. It is almost at the brink of both life and death. Celebrations of life and then tragedies of death are both present within those buildings and carries an enormous amount of emotions and energy. I would be absolutely surprised if there is a hospital with no ghost story out there. This also extends to a hospital like Groote Schuur. And without further ado, let's jump into the ghost stories that are being told about Groote Schuur Hospital. One night, a patient laying in bed reported that she heard the sounds of children playing outside of her window. As many would assume, this could be quite annoying, especially if you're not feeling well. So she got up from her bed, walked to the window, looked outside, and saw no children. And also at that point, the sound of children playing disappeared. She wasn't the only one. Another patient reported hearing the sounds of children playing down a flight of stairs. He went down to go and inspect the noise of the children playing, and when he reached the bottom, the same thing happened. There were no children, and the sound of children playing vanished, as if it never happened. Then there are the stories that some of the lifts in Groote Schuur Hospital has a mind and a life of their own. A couple of visitors and patients to the hospital have claimed that once they got into some of the lifts and they pressed the intended button of the intended floor that they wanted to go to, somehow they would always end up on the floor of the morgue. Then there are also reports of a man who years ago escaped the psych ward. He was on the 3rd floor, kind of trying to run away from the doctors and I'm pretty sure security. And when all else failed, he jumped from the 3rd story and unfortunately fell to his death. Many have reported seeing him at night walking through the wards. One in particular reported that as they were walking alone at night, they heard footsteps behind them, and as they turned around, they came face to face with the ghost of a man. Then there are claims of a nurse who during World War II worked at the hospital. Unfortunately, she contracted an incurable disease, and instead of living with it, she decided to commit suicide. But it is claimed that she never dropped out. Some report her being present in the surgery wards and is a very welcoming and calming presence in the operating room. And then the most creepy one would be reports of a nurse with white eyes that is said to terrify anyone who catches a glimpse of her. But then we come to my favorite story and the most favorite story of Groote Schuur Hospital, and that would be the story of Sister Fatima. The origin story of Sister Fatima is not well known, but she is rumored to be a very helpful ghost. Countless patients have reported being tucked in to bed by a nurse in an old-fashioned white uniform, only to watch as she walks through solid doors. Some wake up to the feeling of being tended to, only to find no one in the room. And she also reportedly helped staff to hand out drinks from an unattended trolley. One patient reported she was actually handed water from a nurse in white, one of those small cups. And as she finished it, she asked for more. And then from behind her, a disembodied voice said, "Only 2 more sips, you need the rest." She turned around and there was absolutely no one there. Others would wake up with Sister Fatima at the edge of their bed, going through charts, only to sign them, put them back, walk out, and a few minutes later another nurse would come in and do exactly the same. And then upon questioning why they keep doing this so frequently, the second nurses would be confused, and only after explaining they would come to the conclusion that the patient had actually come face to face with the ghost of Sister Fatima. Groote Schuur was built as a place of healing. A teaching hospital meant to train future generations of doctors and save lives. And in many ways, it succeeded. It gave the world its first heart transplant. It trained generations of surgeons. And it stands as a beacon of medical history. But beneath the triumphs lies shadows. A child stolen from her mother's arms. A groundbreaking surgery haunted by controversy. Lives lost in despair, etched into its very walls. And maybe this is why Groote Schuur is never truly silent. A nurse who ended her own life now brings comfort to the surgical wards. A restless man who led to his death now roams the corridors. A lift that chooses the morgue as its last stop. The laughter of children, long gone, echoing in the halls. And Sister Fatima, forever making her rounds, tending to patients that swear they were touched by hands no longer on this earth. Groote Schuur is more than just a hospital. It's a place where miracles were made, where tragedies unfolded, and where the living and the dead are destined to walk side by side. If you ever find yourself walking alone down a hallway at Groote Schuur Hospital, you may not be as alone as you think. I am 14th Avenue Haunting. Thank you so much for sitting with me through this ghost story. I have to say it's probably one of my favorites, but please let me know what you would like me to cover next. I will list all the sources in the description box below, and I'm going to try and cover these kind of stories more often. It's just a bit difficult because some ghost stories you can't really say too much about because there isn't a history like there is with the Groote Schuur Hospital, like the Ghost of Uniondale that I have covered. But I'm going to try and do it more regularly for people who want to know the full story about a haunting. But yeah, let me know which one you would like to cover next, and then have a spooky day.